Time to meet the panel from Leah Burnett, Todd Sampson, and from Network 10, Russell Howcroft. They're joined by consumer psychologist Adam Ferrier and communications strategist Carolyn Miller. Welcome. All right, let's start with something fizzy. A recent ad from one of the world's biggest brands.
At Coca-Cola, we believe it's our responsibility to help respond to issues that affect our communities. Today, one of these issues is obesity. So we are bringing more innovation, information and choices to everyone. We're working to increase the availability of smaller packs. We will continue to develop low-kilojoule alternatives for our beverage range. Since 2007, we've made kilojoule information available on the front of our beverage packages. And from 2013, we'll be making this information available on our vending machines. We are also investing in physical activity programs to help get young Australians moving. Well-being is about balance, and when it comes to weight management, all kilojoules count. That goes for Coke and everything else with kilojoules. Beating obesity will take action from all of us, and at Coca-Cola, we're committed to playing our part. For more information, go to cocacolajourney.com.au.
Oh, what a lovely smile. 3 months later, her teeth fell out. That ad launched on Australian TV a couple of months ago. Carolyn, why are there no obese people in an ad that's about obesity?
That's actually not an ad about obesity. That's an ad about Coke trying to align themselves with a health solution, if you like. And there's no way in a million years Coke would ever put fat people in anything to do with their brand. They want to show themselves as being part of the solution, not the cause of the problem. So the thing is, if they don't have strong corporate social responsibility on the front foot, they get absolutely screwed when lobbyists come up and say, well, hang on, you're causing the problem, you need to fix it now, and they start regulating and doing things like higher taxes on, high-calorie foods. So corporate social responsibility is just something that's going to continue to grow, and you'll watch that most companies have a serious platform for it, and they're actually doing a lot to show that they believe in it. Whether or not that's actually genuine is a company-by-company basis.
Don't you guys feel, though, that this is how Coke advertise, and they advertise with lots of image and beautiful people, but it just feels a little bit wrong or a little bit insincere in this instance, the tone they've used, not necessarily the message, not necessarily what they're saying, but the high gloss tone and the beautiful people just doesn't quite feel right with what they're trying to say.
They haven't tried to make a good ad here, though. In the history of Coke advertising, it's some of the best advertising in history. Absolutely. They could not have made an ad this shit if they had tried to. Well, do you know what I mean? They have done that on purpose.
That's right.
They?
Well, they're sort of conflicted. They're conflicted in how I would imagine that how to make this ad appropriately would be a really difficult thing for them to get their head around, because, as you say, their very being is about making awesome advertising. They used to win Logies. Yeah. They actually used to win. It's fascinating. Coca-Cola used to win the Logie for the best ad every single year, so that's why they stopped giving away Logies for the best ads, because people were bored with Coca-Cola always getting it.
This ad isn't selling Coke. There is absolutely no way they expect someone to watch this ad and go out and buy Coke.
Sadly, I did that twice researching this show. For an ad, it certainly has plenty to say. Let's take a closer look at a few of its claims.
Since 2007, we've made kilojoule information available on the front of our beverage packages.
Come on, nutritional labelling is government mandated. You've worked with Coke, Adam. Is that a bit cheeky to claim that as a company initiative?
With most information, we experience what's called source amnesia. So you remember the facts, but you don't really worry about the source or the context it comes from. So I don't really think it's cheeky that they haven't said this is a government initiative. However, I do think everything they're saying in the broader context is a little bit cheeky, because they've had smaller packaging for years, they've had light products for years, they've had water and no-calorie products for years. So they were all commercially driven decisions, not necessarily to tackle obesity, but just because they were the right commercial decisions at the time. And now they're bringing all of those on board and saying these are the tools we're using to fight obesity. I would like to see those things coupled with other more affirmative action to tackle obesity.
But that may be a government initiative to put it on the pack, but it's certainly a Coke initiative to advertise it. And when it comes to doing any kind of social good or even social advertising, there's two parts to it. There's one, doing it, and then there's leveraging it. And they're a company with shareholders, and they need to leverage it. Everything needs to work towards value for the business. So for a lot of companies, they might spend $1 million on the actual product change, but they'll spend $20 million talking about the product change.
But no one buys Coke thinking, thank God I finally made a healthy choice for myself. You know, Coke is an unhealthy product that you get when you're either hungover or you're researching it for a TV show. And that
I was both, by the way. Here's another interesting statement.
Well-being is about balance, and when it comes to weight management, all kilojoules count.
All kilojoules count. That's bullshit. Some kilojoules are much worse than others. Poison has kilojoules. Coke was slapped down by the ACCC a couple of years ago for this Kerry Armstrong ad, which claimed its iconic beverage didn't make you fat or rot your teeth. Todd, your company has Coke internationally, but not here. Is anyone dumb enough to believe Coke's good for you?
I mean, I have more of an association with Coke because my father worked on the factory floor of Coca-Cola for 27 years, and his job was to pour sugar into vats. So I literally, as a child, grew up in the factories of Coca-Cola. So I have a little bit of bias, even though my company doesn't do that.
My God, your dad was an Oompa Loompa?
Yeah. And my view is that if people believe that Coke is the ultimate in health product, then they have bigger problems than obesity. And for Coke, the thing is that there's a divide here between social want and corporate need. Whether a company socially wants to participate in the debate, they have a corporate need to do that. They don't have an option, or if they're not part of the story, or at least in the debate, then the story will be written for them. So this is Coke's attempt at being in that story, and I don't think they're pretending they're a health business. They were never positioned as a health business. Their positioning is happiness, which is actually quite a clever positioning for Coke.
Yeah, and this is the thing which maybe we should talk about. I mean, OK, so Coke, the product itself, we can debate, is it good or is it bad? And obviously it's about how much you consume. But actually the brand itself and what it's done over a very long period of time with regard to, if you like, entertaining millions of people, bringing a smile to people's faces, being the thing that brings people together. I know in my own family, I get a few, extra smiles if I say to the 11-year-old, you can have a Coke. There is huge emotional value in the brand that has taken a century to build up. It's an awesome machine, and obviously I think it's pretty fabulous.
Really? Because you're covering that up. There you go, son, have a Coke, wash down your ADHD pills. I guess that's obviously you like their advertising. That's what I don't understand about this. Why do Coke even dip their toe into this area? Why don't they just stick to the idea of we're a sugary, unhealthy beverage that part of a diet that is balanced you can have? Why don't they just stick there and not
because in the end, there is a social contract which Coke knows that they're participating in. They know that they are making huge amounts of money out of the public. They want that to continue. They recognise that there's a broader issue that they need to participate in the solution. So they're acting as a good corporate citizen. Ultimately, that's what they're doing. And I think it's very hard for them not to do that. It would be very, very, very difficult for them to, if you like, ignore media pressure, government pressure, lobby pressure, and just keep on making ads about people smiling.
I find this really interesting, though, that so many products that have absolutely no nutritional benefit whatsoever are selling happiness. So Coke's doing it, Cadbury's doing it with Joyville. It's like if you have absolutely nothing else to offer people and you are a consumption product, tell them that people will be happy consuming it.
I know, and herein lies the genius of brands, isn't it? In that all you have, if you like, is a sugary, product with some, caramel and some etc. in it. It's the wrapping which is the genius, and the very notion that someone said, let's turn that into happiness, it's extraordinary, really, isn't it? It's a massive creative leap that then in turn creates the biggest beverage company in the world.
Yeah, and the product delivers. I mean, people do feel happier when they have a Coke, and so I don't think
psychologically proven.
Well, I don't think you need to see, as Russell said, see the smiles on kids' faces or whoever consumes the product.
That to me is a bigger lie than trying to sell the fact that you're not going to get a beat.
Look, hang on.
Caroline, it's an awesome product. It is.
we're confusing two folks. We're confusing.
I'm not sure on the ABC you can just keep going on about how awesome Coke is.
But it's not what it is because it's a bad product.
The Coke Obesity ad had a grand total of 78 outings on free-to-air television. More than half of those in one 24-hour period in late July. In 3 months, it's only been watched 1,600 times on YouTube, mostly by angry health activists and researchers for this show. It's certainly not featured on Coke's homepage. Carolyn, why would Coke put it out and then not back it?
Okay, this is not an ad for consumers. As we've alluded to before, this is an ad to keep lobby groups off their back when they're saying that you're just causing the problem and you're not doing anything to help it. I mean, if Coke really wanted to help the obesity issue, they would put things out like, do not consume Coke every day. Like, that's a real message that actually might do something against the obesity epidemic. But they're not doing that. What they're saying is, drink more Coke but exercise more. That's essentially the premise of this ad. They don't think anyone's going to believe that. Yeah. This isn't an ad for consumers. This is an ad to keep people off their back.
I think the people at Coke are sincere about wanting to tackle and play their role in the obesity epidemic. I believe they are. I believe this ad is not a good way to demonstrate that to what you said, and I don't think any of their money should be spent on media showing this ad. They could have started to do things like put more bicycles around town. They could have started promoting the use of walking and footpaths and things like that, and started to try to get people to be more active and then talk about those kinds of things and talk about the actions rather than talk about the issue first without having any...
There doesn't seem to have been a lot of follow-up on some of the things they've mentioned in this bit of communication either about the sponsorship of more activities. If you look around, it's very hard to find evidence of those things actually happening.
They are doing them. They are doing these things, but they're not... It doesn't feel like they're doing them enough, and it also I almost don't think they should be talking about it yet. I think they should be doing more stuff and letting all of that spread through social media and editorial and so on, rather than necessarily doing advertising.
That's the issue, Will, is that if they... Look, whether we like these companies or not, they're powerful and they're influential, so we should be encouraging them to at least do something rather than just keep going with what they're doing. And the balance is exactly what you just said, is that they should do more, but in order for people to kind of catch on that they're doing more, they have to advertise it. As soon as they advertise it, they're social washing. So it is a balancing act that they need to do, and it's not an easy one for them.
In August, Coke wrote a letter to 22,000 Australian GPs. Dear Doctor, oh, how personal. I hope Dolly Doctor got one. And Doctor Who. The letter and the brochure that came with it push the health value of diet soft drinks. What's that about? Adam, do they really expect to get doctors on board?
Yes, I think they really do expect to get doctors on board. I don't think the way they've gone about it is very good. I would much rather see them engage with doctors, engage with, say, maybe if you have 1 can of Coke, this is how many sit-ups somebody needs to do to burn that off, or if you have 1 can of Coke, this is how much exercise you need to do to complete that. And try to start a dialogue with doctors who can then start a dialogue with their patients that means something.
But the doctors are dealing every single day, they'd be dealing with people whose behaviour is ingrained, potentially over some generations. Yeah. So I think what's going on here is they're just trying to offer doctors a alternative. So say to your patient, listen, why don't you try using the diet variant?
What?
That's all that's going on.
I mean, to be honest, if you're watching at home and you're going to a doctor who hasn't heard of Diet Coke yet, I wouldn't necessarily trust him on the latest medical information.
For a healthcare professional to start recommending even Diet Coke, which is in no way a health product, that's utterly ludicrous. That is utterly ludicrous, and it's so completely out of their own... Okay, so basically this has been done successfully. Food marketing to doctors has been done for things by the Dairy Corporation. It has been done by other food groups, but there's something that has a nutritional premise in life. Coke has none of that. There is no good benefit of drinking Coke other than being happy, evidently. And the thing is, what's wrong with that? Why can't they just go, you know what? There's no health benefit for you for doing this. Just have it because you like it.
No, but what they're trying to do, though, I think, is just help the doctor, help the consumer. Because the consumers...
I love them, the idea with a can of Coke. Help me, help you. Help me, help you. The local backlash is building. Last month, the Obesity Action Coalition slammed the Coke ad, and 3 major health organisations, Diabetes Australia, the Heart Foundation and the Cancer Council, funded a commercial which imagines the 16 teaspoons of sugar in a 600ml bottle of soft drink as fat entering the drinker's body. Nope. I'd rather have a Coke. It's actually not too bad after a couple of dog beers. Todd, will that ad get its message across, do you think?
I think it's very powerful and very graphic and memorable, but my worry with an ad like that is that it's got this kind of turn away imagery in it, and what that will most likely do for most people is it will shut down their rational thinking around it and the amount of sugar that's actually in it, and it'll make it seem almost ridiculous. And when it's pushed to the point of just over ridiculous, then just like you discounted it, it then becomes a little bit unbelievable. It's like, really?
Although I live some of the time in America, and I know some Americans who would watch that ad and go, oh, where can we get one of those?